can you just let me finish?
Okay, well, I thought I had, but go ahead.
Okay, y'all, let's take turns and let each other finish.
Welcome to Let Me Finish, the podcast where three minds give their unfiltered and sometimes unpopular opinions on all the craziness going on in our lives and in this world. We're your hosts, Jillian,
Janice,
And Michael.
Settle in and let's take a deep dive. All right, welcome back. This is episode 51 of Let Me Finish. I'm your host, Jillian.
I'm Janice.
And I'm Michael.
All right, let's go ahead and just dive right in and, see what we did this week. Michael, let's start with you since you were missing, so you can do the last 2 weeks.
Good to be back. Really, honestly, not a lot to report in the past 2 weeks. We've just been busy with work and met up with some friends, baby shower, and also a baby. Not a baby, but like a toddler birthday party, which is always fun. I say that. I don't.
Are they?
It's one of those things where there are a bunch of kids running around, and you
committed.
see them having fun, and you're like, oh, look at them. Like
Yeah.
we used to be that age.
You're just there for the interaction with the other adults.
We're just there to talk to the other adults. So that was fun.
You're a committed uncle.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's basically it. I'm a
Because I get invited to kids' birthday parties too.
It's that thing. If you don't go, it's kind of like.
Where's Michael?
You don't care about my kids.
Right, exactly. So you don't really have a choice in the matter. You kind of have to go. Mm-hmm. That's how I see it. So yeah, that was pretty much it.
Okay. So on my week, let's see, what did I do this week? I guess I didn't do that much. It was a very say the same thing about work every week, so moving right along. But yeah, other than that, it was pretty chill. I mean, I've been helping my friend. I'm in her wedding in the next 2 weeks, so
Countdown,
yeah, it's definitely the countdown for the wedding. Got some more stuff that I needed to get for the wedding and that kind of stuff, really, but nothing much other than that.
Oh yeah, you did show us
my bridesmaid's dress.
Really
Yes, I had got my bridesmaid's dress. Luckily, I don't need to do any alterations or anything because I guess I'm 5'7", so I think they said like 5'8" is like the perfect height for dresses. Okay. So I'm like, oh, perfect. I don't have to get anything hemmed or nothing. That's so
good for you because when I was a bridesmaid, that's exactly what I had to do.
Yeah, most people do. She said that. She said like same thing with Ashley because Ashley's like 5'8". So she was saying how Ashley also didn't have to get her bottom of her dress hemmed either.
Yeah, because mine was.
And I guess it's the most expensive part. When it comes to like...
Yeah, I had to cut off... I think I ended up cutting off 1 or 2 inches off of my dress. And then I had to take in around the breast area just a little bit just to make it a little bit more snug. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mine's not
the
even
strap
super...
had to be shortened a little bit.
I think mine's good. It's like a satin dress, so... And it's like a... Up around the neck, so I can even just wear a normal bra, so that's nice.
Yeah. Makes it easier.
Yeah, the dress... I got it from Lulu's, which is, it worked. And I like the dress a lot, actually. So I bought 2 just in case one didn't work. And so I think one of them I'll probably make it like the rehearsal dinner dress or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, something like that.
Put it to good use.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll definitely... I feel
reusable.
The first one that I'm not going to wear, I'm like, that could be worn at any wedding, really. So, as a guest even.
That's good.
Yeah, so I'm like, I'll get plenty of use out the other dress. So, but that was my week.
Yeah. Cool. So let's see here. I end up finishing the book I talked about last week, The Duchess Effect.
You're doing such a good job finishing those books.
You're killing it.
Yeah. I'm actually, when I finished that book, I just wasn't in the mood to start another one. So I'm taking a slight break. So I probably won't have any book recommendations for a week or 2.
You're supposed to be reading the books I gave you.
Oh, I have some other ones that are in my
Jillian.
I just bring my shit back.
No. I'm just taking a week or 2 break and then dive into my next book. And so, but I did enjoy the last one because it's the second one. This is a second book in a series, which I did thoroughly enjoy. So I would say 3.5 out of 5 stars. Mm-hmm. And I'm waiting for the second book in the previous book I talked about, Before I Let Go, because that was a 5 out of 5 stars for me. I totally loved that book. And now it's kind of like, if anyone knows the feeling when you read a 5 out of 5 book.
Oh, yeah.
And everything else is like, not saying that the next book I wrote was bad. It was just, oh my God, that was such a good book. I totally fell in love with the characters and it just
hard to
totally
match
captured
up.
me. Yeah, it's hard to match up.
Yeah.
So I am. That's why I'm taking a little bit of break because I'm like, oh, it was a little bit of a letdown. I think if
Yeah.
I had read it the opposite way, I would have had a better reaction.
Right.
But
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm waiting for it. I think what I'm going to do is wait until that second book becomes available because I'm waiting for it to become available at the library. So I'm waiting for that. I'm like, I have to read this book before I read anything else, and then I'll get into the ones you suggested for me, Janice.
Okay.
And so also we got a big update on Friday about, because we talked about this last week about Catherine, and she finally,
Girl, for a second they're like Catherine. I was like, Catherine? Oh, Kate.
Kate.
Yeah.
That's
how I know
That's
her.
her full name.
Okay, Kate Middleton. She finally came out and announced that when they had exploratory surgery, they actually did find cancer cells, and then she's been battling cancer. She states that it's early stage, and she's doing preventative chemotherapy right now. What she did not announce what type of cancer it is. And we were talking about it in Janice's and I's group chat with Stacy, and I was just like, yeah, their comms team, y'all bumbled this so freaking bad, to the point where I'm like, y'all had the blueprint of how to handle this situation because Charles is going through the same exact thing at the same exact time. If y'all just did what he had done, none of this mess y'all are in right now.
You don't think there could be maybe more to the story?
I definitely think there's more to this
Oh,
story.
right. That's why I'm like,
Yeah.
but why they
feel
didn't
like-
put it out there.
Right.
I feel like if they had, hey, this is what's going on, this non-information, don't, what is it? What's they're saying?
Misinformation?
Don't complain, or they're wanting to be quiet. No, you cannot live in a social media world thinking we want this to be private. No, baby, you don't get to live a private life.
I think a cancer diagnosis and treatment is something that they have well within their rights.
You
to
do not have to go
keep
into
to themselves.
You do not have to go into details. Here's the difference.
They came out when they were ready. And,
Let me-
and 3 months later, here we are.
Here's the difference. We as Americans, if Kamala Harris had cancer, would you be okay with them keeping that a secret for 3 months? Absolutely not.
I'm pretty sure we wouldn't find out a week after she found out.
I'm not saying
Yeah,
a week.
I think it would probably be months before we knew. Yeah.
No. And I would say that's unacceptable. I would say, okay, I'll give you a week. But, these lying and having misinformation, talking about everything's fine and be like, even if you said, hey,
Jillian, what do you mean? What's his name? McConnell over here having strokes on TV. They talking about everything's fine.
and he got roasted.
To this day, they still saying the man ain't suffering from nothing.
He got
So yeah, do I think that Kamala Harris could have cancer and they couldn't tell us for 3 months? Yes.
And
Yes.
Mitch McConnell got roasted. Be like, dude, how can you say this stuff? This is ridiculous.
You get roasted if you say it. If you don't, either way, you're gonna get roasted.
No.
Yeah.
If you had say, hey, this is with Mitch McConnell, you should have been retired.
Why do you feel so entitled to her cancer diagnosis?
I'm not. I don't feel entitled. But the British public.
Why do you think they feel so entitled to her diagnosis?
They feel entitled because she's a public figure. Y'all are living off their taxpayer money. I'm not saying you have to go into specific details in regards to your treatment. I would give you, like I said, I would give you enough time to break the news to your children.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thanks.
And digest it, but no. But you're not.
You got 2 weeks, ho. Digest that shit.
Exactly. No. At the end of the day, if you want a private life, then you should abolish the monarchy or abdicate the throne.
Girl.
That's what he needs to do. If you want that privacy so bad, I feel that's the only way.
everybody was okay to Diana should have privacy. Leave Diana alone. Blah blah blah. But God forbid this woman gets cancer. Takes a little time for herself and her family to wrap her head around the fact that she could die.
Yeah.
And you're like, you should have told us right away.
No, I'm not saying
You guys should have let us know.
But
instead of left us guessing.
No, but it's one thing to want to keep things private as far as the details. I'll give you that.
What is Vanderpump Rules law? It said disengage, Jillian. Disengage.
No.
Delete the chat.
Delete the
No.
Jillian.
At the end of the day,
I actually understand now why they were hiding it for so long.
At the end of the day,
I actually that makes sense.
Yeah.
Honestly,
it was serious.
No. At the end
It
of
wasn't
the day,
plastic surgery.
let me tell you something. If they
It wasn't a divorce.
If they had not hacked her medical information, you would never know she had cancer.
HIPAA.
The girl, this is England. Stop playing.
HIPAA.
Girl, stop playing.
See that woman medical information. That's what, honestly though, Jillian, this is her medical information about her health. I get that with the British monarchy. But times have changed. That woman has every right to protect her health.
Janice.
What's her family?
Janice. No, I'm not saying you have to go into explicit details day to day.
I don't have to
of
give
everything.
you nothing.
Okay, well then
I'm dying.
Okay, you get. Okay, well fine.
What
Okay,
the fuck
we'll
else
just
I
wait
gotta
for-
give you?
Okay, then we'll just wait for the funeral.
I'm dying.
Okay, we'll just wait for the funeral.
I mean, let me go through chemo in peace.
I'm not. The thing is, if they had said, "Hey, this is what we're going through," they probably would have been.
But this is why I think.
But look at Charles. Ain't nobody sitting there calling up Charles's ass about this shit. But
kind of. I just saw a report said that he died in some paper. They had to say he's alive.
Yeah, they put this statement out and he's out about his business.
You saw that?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, I just read it. I was like, oh, they gonna report he dead. Oh yeah. Buckingham Palace confirms King Charles III is alive after Russian media reports his death.
Oh, Russia. Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, Jillian.
Russia.
So now they got
That's such a reliable source.
I'm just saying.
Where else you get your news? X? Come on now.
I'm just saying. But they had to confirm. So people are up his ass saying he dead.
Russia? Really? I don't give a shit what they saying in Russia.
I'm pretty sure if the Russia's saying random untruths, other people will say untruth regardless if you put the truth out there or not.
At the end of the day, honestly, like I said, I'm not asking for specific details as far as
what kind.
What
people
that's
are speculating
business.
that it's a lie even now.
At the end of the
There
day,
you go.
me personally,
Now I can
if you had
defend my
just said,
truth.
"Hey, when I had the abdominal surgery, it was discovered I had cancer."
Well, Michael wants to say something.
What she did on Friday is
Michael would like to say something.
Wait, hold on, I'm not done.
You cut him off like 3 times.
No, hold on.
You did though.
Let me finish though.
He didn't get to even start.
No, go ahead.
Thank you, Michael. I was just saying, if she had done on what she did on Friday, if she had done that last month, she wouldn't be in the predicament she is in now.
Yes, she would be.
And at the end of the day,
It would be a different predicament.
whenever they put out the doctored photos, y'all fucked up because y'all let her.
Jillian, they would have been in a different predicament even if they admitted it.
Damn,
oh my God.
Why are you putting this cape on for Kate Middleton? Like, damn, girl.
I actually think she has every right to protect her.
Yeah, like to the point whenever they came out with the doctored photos, a photo supposedly taken by William. Why'd you make her put out a statement saying, "Hey, that was me that doctored that photo"? A woman who's fighting cancer. Y'all should have been like, "Hey, we messed up." Whether it was her comms team or William should have fallen on the sword and protected her the same way they protected her whenever she was talking about Archie's skin color.
So now it's different. Oh, now we're bringing up Archie.
I'm just saying,
See,
if you're gonna be protecting,
they got nothing to do with Kate and her health.
if you're gonna be protecting people and allowing people to protect people, that would have been the situation when she fighting cancer.
So that's why you mad.
I don't like her.
Now we're digging deeper. Oh,
I like her.
Oh, this is all about Megan and Archie.
Okay, Michael,
Okay.
what's your thoughts?
My thoughts are this. Jillian, I am with you a lot of the time, but I have to say I am totally with Janice in this moment. Not that it's a either or, but I just think in this case, I don't think that. First of all, I've never been through cancer. I have family members who have, and it is a very. I mean, we all know it's a very private matter. Yes, she's a celebrity. Yes, she's like in the monarchy. Yes, she has a responsibility to be transparent. However, I felt like the way America handled her, whatever was going on,
Their need to know.
Right, their need to know was a little too aggressive. It was. I'm not saying you. I'm just saying people in general were too aggressive, and it's like, okay, just let the girl breathe. And everyone was like, "Oh, the conspiracy this, conspiracy that," and it's like, girl.
Just like they used to do Diana.
Right, exactly.
And everybody felt Diana had the right to some privacy.
Absolutely.
Right?
I did.
Isn't that how America felt about Diana? Give that girl some peace. Give that girl some space.
Yeah, and that's how she died, because she didn't get any peace.
Yeah.
She was literally chased by the paparazzi.
I mean, because she married into this. I mean, she loved William.
Yeah.
Which for me, I know you have an aversion to Kate and William in general because of their treatment of Harry and Meghan. And that's fine. I'm just saying, for me, valid. The reason why she might not have come forward in December after her abdominal surgery, I could see the answer for me was enough. She's been diagnosed with cancer. Oh, well, that makes sense. That was enough for me.
Yeah.
Everybody else is like, you should have told us more. And I'm like, the girl, maybe she didn't handle it right to America or the country, but she doesn't have any, like, when it comes to her life and her trying to fight to live at this point, I don't think she has to justify anything or the response. I don't think she has that responsibility. She has responsibility to herself and her family, her children right now. That's what I think she should be focused on, not reporting that, hey, I have cancer. And I highly doubt she's the one that put the statement out. Even if her name was on it, I doubt she was the one that even put the statement out. They probably just wanted to stop it because, okay, that was their first solution. Let's put out a picture. It's clearly photoshopped. Everybody's talking about it. Okay, we have to say something now. Let's say something. Okay, it's still going on. So now they feel pressured to say something. You don't feel like they feel a little pressure to say the woman has cancer? Especially after they just said that Charles has cancer.
Right.
I mean, if they're trying to protect the image of this family, I think two people having cancer and potentially dying is like, damn, the monarchy is dying. Like, literally.
Yeah.
Maybe they were trying to protect that.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I stated before, I understand needing time to process what's going on. She had this surgery in December. Mm-hmm. You don't, at the end of the day, like I said, I don't need a lot of information. It's not like on Friday she gave us a lot of information.
You don't need any.
Let me finish. I let you talk, so let me finish. What I'm saying is, as a member of the royal family, you are second in line. First in line to the throne. You will be the future Queen of England. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying if Andrew or Meghan got cancer, I would care as much. But at the end of the day, this affects the line of succession. You are literally next in line to be King and Queen of England. It matters. It matters. If like I said before, if it was Joe Biden, we always have questions about Joe Biden's health.
And he don't give us the answers.
And at the end of the day, if he kept some shit from us, such as something as important as his health, as having cancer, I would roast him alive. Because I'm like, that's messed up. That's something very important that we need to know.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, hold on. At the end of the day, like I said, I'm not needing specifics in regards to your treatment. You don't even have to tell me what type of cancer it is until you're ready to do so. What I'm saying is that at the end of the day, you had your surgery in December. It did not need to take 3 months for you to be saying, hey, everyone, this is what's going on. Right. I had surgery. Doctors found something concerning. I've been diagnosed with cancer. I'm taking preventative chemotherapy. Please allow me this time to process what's going on, explain this to our children, and move on. And also, this is what I'm saying when it comes to proper communication and why their comms team is failing them. This is your perfect opportunity because this is something that somebody can relate to you.
Right.
An unrelatable family. Right. Someone can relate to you and you'd be like, hey, now I know what this feels like. I want to be a conduit for comfort for other people going through this as well. Because I'd be like, hey, at some point, I want to be able to share my experience with this and others be able to share their experience with me because now I have a deeper understanding of what you're going through.
Exactly.
And move on. And I think the lack of information is what creates the conspiracy vacuum and creates that situation. Of course. And I'm not saying, their comms team clearly failed them. And I think at the end of the day, you had the blueprint on how to deal with this, and all you have to do is copy and paste exactly what Charles did, and you would not be in the predicament they are. So for me, quite frankly, yes, I do have a little less empathy for them, and rightfully so. I think dealing with everything that she has done everything that she has
Jillian,
done.
allegedly, Jillian.
It's not allegedly. If it came out of Meghan and Harry's mouth, I believe it.
Oh, it's gospel. Oh.
Yes, I believe it. I believe it. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, I'm like, you created this situation for yourself. So,
Well, I'm so glad you have the perfect answer for a cancer diagnosis to a royal family member. They should have you on their comms team.
I think I could do a better job at this point. The only thing is that they're only paying them £25,000. That's why y'all can't get good comms team, because £25,000, no.
Shoot.
Anyways, after all of this, thanks, Jillian, for your opinion there.
All right, we're gonna
unfiltered.
Yes, I'm gonna let you know, but we're gonna take a quick break because we're gonna dive into an even bigger topic that we've been dealing with this for the past week.
Get ready.
So we're just gonna take a quick break, reconvene,
calm ourselves, take a breath,
take a drink,
and then come back. All right, welcome back, and we're going to go ahead and dive into our main topic, one that has been, of course, all over social media.
Yep.
And it's a pretty heavy subject, but one we felt like when I saw the trailers for this, I'm like, we have to talk about this. And what we're going to talk about is the recent docuseries on ID Channel and on Max called Quiet on the Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV, which goes into details
of multiple pedophiles
on set at Nickelodeon. And I'll have to say this. I'll go ahead and start as far as how I felt after watching the episodes. Janice will go, and then Michael will go. Watching this, I feel like on every possible level, the adults in this situation failed the children miserably. The ones that were assaulted. Mm-hmm. Now, there were other parents who did participate, who did their best to shield their children from assault, and they were very vigilant, did create a ruckus, which unfortunately, I think they were using an example because they did end up hurting those children's careers in the end. And I think the louder the parents were in regards to things that made them uncomfortable as far as situations their children were being put in, it affected their child's career, which in turn made other parents not willing to speak up, which is sad. And I will have to say, going through everything, it looked like the predators not only knew how to groom the children, they also knew how to groom the other adults as well. Mm. This is something that is not unique to just children's television. We have seen this time and time again of big institutions, whether it's the Catholic Church, whether it was the Boy Scouts of America, Southern Baptist Church as well also has an issue with that, with their members of their clergy. It happens all the time with youth sports. These are people who ingratiate themselves on the adults, seem like they're there to help, be a positive influence in the children's lives, only to be able to get access alone with the children.
Yeah.
And it was funny because watching this and seeing the things that happened, which the major star that was revealed to be a victim of one of the predators was Drake Bell, who started out on the Amanda Bynes show and then ended up having his own show called Drake and Josh. Is that the name?
Yeah.
Okay, Drake and Josh with Nickelodeon. And I feel like, wow. Sorry, it's just really hard because I'm just thinking these kids are alone. At the end of the day, they are fed to the wolves. And in essence, I feel some of the parents were there living vicariously through their children. And I think that happens in other situations, whether it was with youth sports or with the church.
You don't think that happened with necessarily Drake's situation?
Yes, I do.
You think kids' parents were living vicariously through him?
The father, I think. in essence. Even though the father...
I don't think so.
I think so. I think...
How is he living through... He literally stepped back from the career completely. Which is how he was allowed to happen.
Even though that he may not have had the day-to-day, I think almost seeing his son have success kind of helps him. Okay, that's my son. I'm proud of him. He's accomplished this great thing. And we discussed this earlier. I feel like even with the father, even though he saw the signs, felt that his child was in danger, even when he was removed as Drake's manager, you stopped being his father at the same time.
I don't think so. That's what I was like, okay, because I think with the father, which I didn't think about it till you said it, and I agree. I think because he knew there was a problem with that particular person, he shouldn't have walked away from it so easily. But I do think it was because I think, like Drake explains, him and the wife had a tumultuous relationship. They had a divorce. I don't believe the dad had any custody over him except for the fact that he was his manager. I don't think he had custody of the son.
To have zero contact with your child, I don't.
Well, I think at that point, because he's 14, 15, it's like, I can make calls, but are you going to answer my phone call? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. They didn't go into detail on that part of the relationship, but it was made clear by Drake and the dad that after he was no longer the manager, it was like he didn't have the same accesses to him.
Okay.
Both of them said that.
I mean,
I'm not saying that what he did, he should not have walked away, especially when you thought that there was a problem.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I just don't necessarily think the dad was living vicariously through his son. I think he was probably one of the only ones on that set of those victims that seemed to have a handle and protected his son as long as he did. Mm-hmm. But he shouldn't have walked away at that time. Maybe, I don't know. Only thing I can think of is, he's 15. It's, even though it can still happen to a 15-year-old boy, but maybe he was not thinking of it that way. Like, you're not as vulnerable at that age as a boy, even though you are, as opposed to being 9, 8, 11.
You can protect yourself more.
A little bit more so. I think, especially maybe a dad will feel like it wouldn't happen to you unless, or not even saying that you would want it, but you know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't happen to you as easily, or I don't have to watch as hard.
Right.
I think that's something that parents definitely have to pay attention to, because when it comes to pedophile, whether the range, it ranges. You've had infants all the way to teenagers being assaulted by pedophiles. I don't think as a parent you can ever let your guard down, no matter how old your child is. It may be easier to,
I think that's what probably happened.
If something is wrong, they're able to maybe better able to find words to express to you what's going on. Mm-hmm. And I think at the end of the day, like I said, the adults, this is not only the people we're not talking about just the parents, the people on set. So if you're a cameraman, makeup artist, you're seeing this behavior.
You're around it.
If you are a director, or if you're a writer, or if you're an executive, because Michael, let me know if I'm wrong about this, when it comes to at the end of the day, because another part of the show was that Dan Snyder, who, though he was not one of the pedophiles, he had inappropriate things going on set where he abused pretty much everybody, the children and the women, especially in the writing room. This is happening openly to everyone, and they were saying that a lot of the sexually explicit jokes that were made it onto these kids television shows, it goes all the way up through executive level to sign off and be like,
Correct.
this is good.
Correct.
Or they have what you call them dailies, where they actually go and review what has been filmed.
Correct.
So you mean to tell me no one says, hey, this is something that's going to end up on children's television.
Yeah, it's inappropriate.
And even though it may go over the head of some children,
it's not
adults, which I think when it comes to Nickelodeon and Disney, you as a parent should be able to turn it on and not worry about the content coming through.
Yeah.
Because that's how they market it towards children, should be child appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's your take on it.
My takeaway from the whole thing is that the adults fail them at every single level, in exchange for money. That's how I feel. That they got away because if Dan Snyder had not been as successful as he was with the TV shows that he created, it would never have happened.
Okay. So for me, I mean, obviously I definitely think parents and adults failed these children in the system. So for me, I take a little different probably look on it than maybe Jillian, just because it's crazy to me, because I'm like, I was watching these shows, right? I was the kid sitting down laughing and, you know, it's not even crossing my mind that some of this stuff that I'm seeing is inappropriate, of course, right? And then it's the 90s too.
Yeah.
It's just, that's the time of life where you could leave your door unlocked.
Yeah.
You know, you can go play on the streets.
Yeah.
And I mean, and me and Michael actually had a particular situation growing up where we found out one of our friends was being molested.
Yeah.
And it was shocking.
Yeah.
It was like it's unfathomable. I think nowadays it's more looked for.
Yeah. Yes.
Of course I think it should have been looked for then, but I just don't think it was as prevalent.
Expected. Yeah.
It was just as prevalent. It was, because remember, this is before Me Too.
Yes.
Before social justice warriors and
I will have to say this.
Well, go ahead, interrupt me.
Okay. I will have to just make this one point. Even though we were kids watching this, maybe not getting the sexual innuendo, I don't think it was for us. I think it was.
It's not for us. That's not what I was saying.
Those jokes
that's not what I was saying.
Not even. I don't even think those jokes. I think those jokes, honestly.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm saying, Jillian. You're going completely off subject of what I'm going to.
What I'm saying is that those jokes and the fact that it's in a children's show, I think personally, it is an inside joke for other pedophiles.
That's
to have these children do this sexually explicit material.
Jillian, let me just finish my thought process on it, okay? Because what I'm trying to say is, for me, it was just like, I think nowadays when you see those kind of things, it's way more like, oh my gosh, because again, when we sat there and watched those videos and I was showing Michael parts of the documentary, it's just like nobody was thinking about that being inappropriate at the time, including adults. Maybe the pedophile adults, the ones that the jokes were for. Right? But so to me, I'm like, okay, you think everybody that saw this was like, oh, that's sorry, that's a nasty joke for children and that's cool?
Yeah, they do. Like, specifically, when I was watching it, the Penelope Taint comment that was made, the name of the character on the Amanda Biden show, someone did flag that and says, are you talking about, like, taint as in on the male body? Oh, no. You knew. It definitely raised it. But what you did was you took a bullshit explanation from Dan Schneider and let it slide through. Yeah. Because you did not want to upset your golden boy who's created all these hit TV shows on your. They knew. They flagged it. There were adults on there and be like, hey, I'm not comfortable with this. Parents who said, I'm not comfortable with this. But what happens is that you get smashed down.
Hold on.
To appease
that's not what happened.
Dan Schneider or whoever else.
That's not what happened.
What happened? Did I miss
that?
Who
flagged it?
The Penelope Taint joke? The fact that they named the character Penelope? Yes, it was an executive. Be like, wait a minute.
They said, what does this mean? And then he said, it means tainted, like a person. And then the girl... Can you let me just talk?
Fine.
A little bit? I know you're passionate about the subject, but...
Go ahead.
I didn't do it.
Go ahead.
So I'm saying when it happened on the in the executive room, because that was another thing I want to bring up, because I think a part of the conversation was only like, it was about pedophiles, right? Of course, but it was also about like women in the workplace and the inappropriate conversations or how he talks to women. And so the particular women on set who said that he did admit that he it was about that part of the body, the part, and the taint is the part between the asshole and the genitalias. He said it was a joke, and he was like, oh, it's no big deal. And so when the executive did ask, hey, what does this mean? Because I think somebody did say, like, I think this is what this means. And he said, no, it just means tainted. That's all it is. And then the girl who was one of his victims on his set was just like, that's how much I knew how much power he had. One little comment and they just brushed it under the rug. Like, they believed him. Do I think those higher executives absolutely knew what was going on? Yes. But don't we also know about the Disney movies?
Yeah.
And all those explicit jokes in Disney movies? They knew that too.
Little Mermaid.
They knew that kind of stuff too. And that's what I'm saying. When it comes to like that time, I think, were there inappropriate people hiding those jokes in there? Yes. What do I think it was something that was in the forefront of people's mind at that time? No. I don't think that's what they were thinking. Because when you look at it now, you're like, oh, that's obviously a sexual joke. Yeah. There's penis, there's male genitalias on this costume. Clearly. You're clearly making a cum joke. You're clearly talking about touching a penis. You're like, all of it was very obvious later. And that was my point with what I was saying. I just think it's crazy, like, watching it at that time. Because mom was right there seeing me watch those cartoons. I don't think she ever saw anything inappropriate, but it was inappropriate. Just like we said, Ren and Stimpy, right? It was inappropriate, right? I'm asking you a question now.
Yeah, right. but what I'm trying to say is, you're giving them way more grace than I'm willing to give them.
I'm not giving anybody grace. I'm not saying those executives didn't fail and that they didn't know what was going on. Obviously, they did. Even their apology on the documentary was clearly political and carefully worded, very much not, I care about these children. Just like when the Me Too movement happened and Harvey Weinstein and all these people are still standing up for those same people.
Right.
Like, so I'm just like, do I know that they allowed it? Yes. Do I think they're all pedophiles? No.
I didn't say that. I never said that they were all. I'm like, they're willing to let them, like I said, starting with Dan Schneider, the creator of those shows, who clearly, the women actually sued them and won their lawsuit. They settled their lawsuit over the behavior that was happening. So you can't say you didn't know that this was a toxic. And when you have
Nickelodeon definitely knew it was a toxic work environment.
And on top of that, you're putting children.
I'll give the dad more grace though.
In this environment that at the end of the day, like I said, you were willing to look the other way because this person, you give this much person so much power. I'm like, you really mean to tell me in all of Hollywood, Dan Schneider was the only one who could come up would have brilliant ideas for kids programming,
and be able to put it on Nickelodeon. I don't think every person that worked for Nickelodeon at that time is just like a horrible person. I never said that. I don't think that they. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think necessarily that because they weren't looking for that.
What I'm saying is that it's not that we weren't looking; they saw it. It's not an issue of not looking or you saw it. You saw it. And at the end of the day,
I don't know. Do you really think that the people that saw the Ariana Grande clip was really thinking she sounds like she's getting cum all over? Like, I don't know.
What I'm saying is,
I can't imagine
and I said that this is the power dynamic, and this is any workplace. Mm-hmm. When you're there making a paycheck, this is how I pay my bills. A lot of people will stay silent and look the other way because, hey, if I speak up, there's 10 people right behind me willing to take my job and say nothing.
I just think it's sad when it comes to it's kids.
It doesn't matter. When it comes to the end of the day,
I think it's worse.
When it comes to people, I'm not saying it's not bad or it's worse or whatever when it comes to kids, but I think people are willing to look the other way when they have no other options. When you're desperate, when I'm like, okay, why am I putting my neck out? Yeah. Risking my job, my livelihood when I got a mortgage, kids, a car payment, I got to put food on the table, roof over my head. Right. When you're in that scarcity of, I can't not have a job because not only can these people affect your current job, they can affect you being able to get to your next job.
Right. Exactly.
And that's another environment you're using to be able to control people and keep people silent. Right. Is that desperation.
Well, I think that's what one of the points I'm trying to make is that I do think those people that were in that situation that failed the kids felt exactly the way you just said.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they felt like, just like what happened. I sued them and nothing happened to them, right? I got my money. Nothing happened. Nothing changed. Even, so when the people we're going to talk about is Jason Handy, Brian Beck, even after he was convicted of this crime, he was still allowed to go and work on another children's set.
My God.
Not on this side. He did a voiceover. He never interacted with any of the children.
You're on a children's show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows who you're interacting with? I don't know.
At the end of the day,
you might not be on set every day, but you're interacting with children at some point.
You're on a children's
and you're a pedophile.
Yeah, that's...
He should be on the program.
At the end of the day, frankly, the fact that Disney hired him when he's a convicted sex offender.
Right.
Do you not run background checks? Right. It doesn't matter if you have zero interaction with children.
There was one guy who ended up was trying to take a child off the set and ended up getting arrested. He was already a convicted pedophile.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, so there were 2 convicted pedophiles, and I don't remember if Jason Handy I think he had accusations in the past. But it's just my whole thing. Like, how do you have this background and you're allowed to work with children?
Right.
Yeah. But I will have to say, with this all coming up, somebody who's always been very vocal about this problem within this particular industry has been Corey Haim and Corey Feldman.
Yes.
They're like, and I think Feldman, he ended up passing away.
He's still alive.
Because I can't remember. I know it's 2 Corys. Carrie Haim
The
passed
one of
away.
them committed suicide.
Or did had a drug overdose.
I think
one
it was
of them.
drugs.
Drug overdose.
Yeah.
Was it drug overdose?
I think it was
or
I'm
was
pretty
it?
sure it was drug. We can check that. But I think
There was one kid star. It was a little blonde one. He committed. So I get them two mixed up.
Okay, yes. Corey
I forget
Haim,
what he was on.
Corey Feldman is still alive, but it was heavily on drugs. And he was friends with Michael Jackson.
Which he said that there's a lot of pedophiles, but Michael Jackson wasn't one of them. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah. Because he was sexually assaulted when he was young.
I mean, listen.
Okay, yeah. So Corey Haim.
The Michael thing is always rough for me, Michael Jackson, because
it's Michael.
I do believe he's definitely done inappropriate things with
too.
children.
Me too.
I definitely think that.
And it's he's like, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So just to confirm, yes, Corey Haim did end up passing away, and Corey Feldman has come out. And he's never named names, and he made a good point where, why do I have to be the one that name names? All these powerful executives know exactly who's who.
Right.
And they don't say anything. And I'm with him. At the end of the day, it shouldn't be the victims that need to be naming names. It's like I said, the other adults.
The adults.
So me personally, if I know that you're a pedophile, I don't want you anywhere near my business.
Yeah.
And my thing about Dan Snyder is like, why you keep hanging all these pedophiles?
Yeah.
Why are these pedophiles your friends?
Why how are,
I just
so Brian Beck, he was pen pals with John J. Gacy.
Peck.
John Gacy?
Are you
He
serious?
was pen pals with him.
Oh,
He
yeah.
had like memorabilia and things from him.
Yep.
Did I watch you?
Brian
you
Beck.
told me that,
Peck.
or someone told me that? Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? And
That is.
so I'm like, these are people who hang around him and know him, and you think he should be working with children? When one of his idols is a serial killer?
Yeah.
That he used to speak to?
Yeah.
Like little boys?
Yeah.
And then
sexually assault and then kill them.
And then you are pen pals think he's like one of the coolest people in the world?
Yeah.
Weird.
I heard that. I was blown away.
Yeah. Like it's just crazy it just anywhere there's smoke there's fire, right? So you have these couple kids that have come out about this, but you just know there's more.
Oh yeah.
When you hear and I think a while ago we were talking about how potentially having a podcast about Amanda Bynes. She she doesn't talk on the documentary.
No.
But a big chunk of it is about her. And
about her show.
About her show and Dan Snyder's experience in it and all of that. But because she didn't participate, you don't really know what happened to her. But I know, again, Michael and I and Jillian were talking about at some point possibly doing a podcast about her just because of the decline of her mental health. Her mental health is clearly been on decline for quite some time. And it's up and down. Like, I think there have been times where she's kind of come out of it and then gone right back. And I think she has been diagnosed with schizophrenia. So I know that's a lot of it is her mental health as well. But I do think those things were triggered by trauma. Mm-hmm. So it makes you want to go, what happened to her?
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, but it's one of those things where I personally don't want to comment until she's had an opportunity.
She said on her
something.
burner account that she was impregnated at 13 and was forced to have an abortion. Mm-hmm. She also said that she said an executive, took hundreds of photos of her feet as a child.
Dan Snyder.
And she also said, who are we talking about? Harvey Weinstein, or you meant Dan Snyder? Oh, wait, no. So she is insinuating that Dan Snyder is another Harvey Weinstein, but it sounds like with children. And it's just crazy to me, though, because nobody spoke ill of Dan in a way regarding children. Mm-hmm. But he had a lot of close relationships with children.
Yeah. Yeah, most of the Dan Snyder stuff was the women in the writer's room. And also
that little girl from All That. Like how she was like literally always with him and always massaging him. And as she got older, she kind of got booted out and was replaced by Amanda.
Yeah, she's the one. She ended up getting boosted out, I think, whenever she had puberty. They had called the parents and be like, hey, she's gained a little bit of weight. They quote said, we already have a flat girl, we don't need another one. Which they're like, she was a little girl. She was a little girl, and then she hit puberty and grew into her body, and that's when Amanda Bynes came up, and they just didn't.
Well, Amanda was there before she went to puberty. Because she said that she basically introduced Dan to Amanda because she was doing a comedy show at the Laugh Shack or something, I think it was called.
Some comedy place.
A comedy place, a pretty popular one in LA. She was doing a show, and then he saw Amanda. And that's when he brought Amanda to the show. And that's when her role, I remember thinking, where's that one girl?
She's the one who used to play Ross Perot.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. So she kind of slowly got edged out, but it wasn't but Amanda and her were on the show at the same time. It was brief.
I think
they were, though.
Not saying I didn't know about Amanda, but I think by that time, as far as my own personal experience, by the time Amanda came along, I already had moved on. I hadn't really watched the show.
Yeah, because you're 4 years older than me, so I was still in the swing of things. I actually really enjoyed the Amanda show.
Me too.
Yeah, I didn't watch the Amanda show.
Amanda show. Okay. Yeah. I actually did not realize it was Drake on the show, though. But I also never watched Drake and Josh, because definitely by the time Drake and Josh came out, I had definitely surpassed that stage.
Yeah.
But I did not realize that Drake was the little boy from Amanda show. So that was
I didn't put that
together. You kind of...
Yeah, it was.
So you'd be surprised, like, when they mentioned a lot of the shows, I'm like, oh, that was way after my time. I even mentioned things all the way up to Zoe 101, which is funny because our cousin, her oldest daughter, Kiara, was actually... She used to watch Zoe 101. That just shows you the breadth of how long this man has been on this
even
network. For him to be able to not only touch my life with shows that he's created, to go all the way down to our cousin's oldest daughter.
Yeah.
So.
But even the Amanda Bynes show, like, did you guys... There's that show she made called What I Like About You. That was directed by Dan Snyder, too.
Yeah, I remember that.
He got kicked off of it later, and that's when he went back to Nickelodeon. But I actually really, really enjoyed What I Like. I used to love What I Like About You. I still enjoy it.
Yeah. She made a movie, What a Girl Wants.
She made a lot of movies around that time.
Yeah.
She used that opportunity to get away from him, to kind of navigate her career into an adult acting career.
Yeah.
Which I think she would have had a really great career.
She could have
not been for...
She would have, I think, but I think a lot of if you really go back and think about the Dark Side of Hollywood and all these child actors who just literally just started having all these issues.
The only one that I can think of that didn't have any issues, unless we don't know about them yet, is Elijah Wood. He seems very together for someone who has been famous since he was 6 years old.
Yeah.
There's others.
There's lots of others. You know, Reese Witherspoon, child actor.
Sure. But Reese Witherspoon was a little older. I mean, she was in Fear. Was she in anything before Fear?
She was.
Yeah.
She was in the Man on the Moon.
That's right.
She was
I totally forgot about that.
Preteen, teenager.
Yeah, no, there's
still a little older.
It just seems like Elijah Wood was literally like 5 or 6.
Right.
In that movie North or whatever.
God, did you realize that Drake was the little boy on Jerry Maguire?
Yes.
In Jerry Maguire, the little boy whose dad is like a baseball star, and he's like, he flicks Jerry Maguire off.
Was it baseball or football?
I think it was a baseball player.
I don't remember.
Yes. And he had like a bunch of head injuries.
And he's just like, you have to, it's just crazy. If you saw the clip, you'd be like, oh. And I was like, I had no idea that was Drake.
But he didn't flick him off with the middle finger.
Yeah, he said he didn't. He did the
ring finger.
Oh.
But anyway, so as far as like Amanda, I would just be interested to hopefully at some point, I guess, you know, and I guess it's a hopefully thing, but it's like it's technically none of our business, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So
I just want her to find peace.
Exactly. It's just like I want to know. It's like because you've known her since she was like 7. It's like you want to know what happened. Friend. Yeah. I want to know what happened to you. Like
we'll just have to wait for the autobiography.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to say it's morbid curiosity, but a little bit it is because I'm like, you were such a talented little girl. And
she was. Yeah.
I don't know, and for you to be attached to this side of Hollywood that's so dark, I can't imagine like none of that darkness touched you.
Well, I know that Lindsay Lohan has been through
The Ringer.
Yeah.
So yeah, Michael. So let's get your take on. I just think
that more often than not, the reason parents don't want their kids to get work when they're kids as actors is because of these things. Because there are too many dark components to it. Let's say there's never been a predator in this child actor's life. There's a lot of like drug opportunities for drugs. There's opportunities for premarital sex, which of course is not a crime, but like just
limited to Hollywood,
right? Of course, but the fact of the matter is, people are too afraid for their kids, and maybe rightfully so, to get they want them to get an education first, and not just by a tutor. They want them to go to school, have a normal life, quote unquote normal life, and then if they decide they want to pursue an acting career,
it makes you go like, should they allow kids to be child actors? But they're like, we need. It's like you don't need them, but we need them. But
we need it. Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, is it even an appropriate place? Like, should that even be a thing?
I think so, because I think there are kids that are mature enough that can handle it. I think, like Timothée Chalamet started when he was, I don't know how old he was. He was young. And he seems to be very, I don't know him, but he seems to be very mature.
But a lot of those things come later in life.
That's true.
Like, look at Amanda really did not go off the deep end until like her early 30s.
That's true.
Or late 20s.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean?
We thought she was together until she wasn't.
Yeah, until she literally just spun out of control.
Yeah.
Drew Barrymore, I guess she's off and on.
Yeah.
She kind of went off and on.
She's
the one who did not, Hilary Duff. She actually did pretty okay.
But
she did.
The ones who make it depends on their parents.
Yeah.
I really do think. I think a lot of it is for Elijah Wood. I don't know what his parents' involvement was with that, or Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He was a child actor. There's a lot of Jodie Foster was a child actor, and there are lots of child actors out there who make it and are able to, and the ones that are talented, not just cute and look cute and they're like, oh my God, they can regurgitate whatever cute line that they're given. The ones that are really talented and able to make this a career well into adulthood, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to who they have around them, whether that's their parents or their management team,
support,
whatever support that they have around them.
Amanda was trying to get emancipation from her parents. Drew Barrymore tried to get emancipation from her parents.
Brooke Shields.
Her
mom totally sold her out.
The people who seem to have had it together, or even Lindsay Lohan, she had a pretty tumultuous relationship with her parents.
Yes.
Macaulay Culkin.
I
was going to bring him up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the ones who have the parent support, even the Olsen twins, if they had a lot of parent support, which is probably why
I think
they
are billionaires.
I think with
and made their way out and been like, you know what?
Not this.
The Olsen twins is actually a little bit of a unique twist in their story, is because they started a production company specifically where they're the actual producers, where they created their own products or their own work.
Was it Ken Starr, something? He's a little weird.
I don't know him.
He was kind of like the adult running the thing.
Dual Star.
It was the name of the name of their production company, but it made them more in control. So they're not looking at executives at Disney, Nickelodeon, whatever television show for their next project. They're making their own product. So they're making their own money. So they're not dependent on their next project from these executives. So they're able to have more control. So I think the Olsen twins, and that's why they were like, hey, at 18, Ashley quit. Mary Kate still did some other works.
New York Minute. They were like in their 20s when they made that.
That was Ashley's last.
They both were in it.
Yeah, they were both
in it, but that was Ashley's last project. She hasn't done anything since then. She's like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore.
I don't think Mary Kate did anything.
Yeah, I don't think
she has done. She did Beastly. She's guest starred in Weeds, and she does some other.
I remember Beastly.
Yeah. I love their sister,
Elizabeth
Olsen.
Yes,
she's a good actor.
But I honestly do think that the guy who was helping them with the production company, he was a little sus to me too.
Yeah, I just don't.
I think anybody hanging out with children is a little sus.
Yes.
I don't know who that is, so I don't know.
He was the one that was behind. He was one of the.
Yeah, and as soon as they turned 18, they took over fully for the
he turned it over.
So at the end of the day, I think their situation and they're able to, and because of their whoever did their fashion stuff, and they're able to get deals with
in Walmart.
They're able to parlay that into their fashion career, which is where their real passion is. So good for them.
I believe they went to NYU for fashion, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Or maybe one of them did.
Was it?
I think they both went to NYU. I don't remember what their major was, but I do know when they went to college, they both went to NYU.
Yeah. I know,
which is why I think that's why they did the New York Minute movie.
Yeah, exactly. It was final. It's like their farewell to Hollywood. Like no more.
You're welcome.
Yeah, all those years.
So I think heavy topic, right?
Yeah, I think when it comes down to, I
want to point out. Because I know we talked about Drake's dad earlier. So one of the main victims of the whole entire thing was Drake Bell. And this was the first time he spoke about his abuse at the hands of Brian Beck. And
Peck. You keep saying Beck. It's Peck.
Oh, it's Peck.
With a P.
It's such an awful last name for a pedophile, too.
It is.
Like, such an awful last name. It's probably why I'm trying to not commit it to memory. But I feel like I just want to point out that the dad, I thought it was crazy because his dad pegged Brian from the start. He said, I've always been told about Hollywood, how you have to watch your kids, how you have to make sure that they're, nobody's like messing with them. So from the time he was this young kid, his dad was his manager. And so he said, I don't want that guy around my son. He's just too close to you. What's going on? And he, like Jillian said in the beginning, he definitely groomed that family and that child and mother so he could get to where he wanted to be with them. And one of the things he did was exclude the dad. And I
saw him as a threat.
And he's all, because he was very vocal. He said most parents were in the green room, said he wasn't. He was always on set. He always wanted to just
hands on.
Yeah, and there was another mom for one of the younger black guys, younger black men on set or boys on set. His mom was very vocal, that's weird. I don't like that for my son. And so I want to commend the parent that did attempt to protect their children, because again, I do think that obviously there's a failure there, but I do feel like they tried their best.
Yeah.
I really do. I think the dad should not have thrown in the towel so easily with the son request, but I also think he tried his best, and I think he was truly devastated when he found out that it happened to his son, because he said when they found out he got arrested, he talked to his dad, and he said it had been the first time in a long time. And he was just like, yeah.
Thank God it wasn't you.
Yeah, did you hear about Brian? And he was just like, oh, wow, what happened? He's like, no, he got arrested for, molesting somebody on set. And he was like, I knew he was going to get somebody. I'm just so glad it wasn't you. And he said, in the moment, Drake said he just felt like he couldn't say anything because he knew his dad had kind of always known, and he just knew he said his dad's a sensitive guy, and he just knew with the relationship being started, he just didn't want to taint it. Yeah. And I was just like, it's just sad, because I really felt like if I was his dad, I would feel like, damn, I knew and I still didn't protect. Like, I feel like he needs a little grace. I'm trying to give him a little grace, because it's got to be heart-wrenching to know that you knew something was up, and something that point in your life when you walked away and you're like, I shouldn't have walked away. I should have went with my gut. I should have went with my instincts.
At the end of the day, Brian Peck is 100% responsible for his actions, and I will say that even though these adults failed, it's not a moral failing on their part, as far as sometimes we don't want to see it. It's not that, not saying that there's some parents who really don't care, but I'm not saying that these parents didn't care, or these adults don't have some level of care they wanted to take care of these children. But I think at the end of the day, a lot of people, like I said, when you've got bills to pay and it's not your child, you're willing to...
Which is what the executives and people working there did.
Right. So I think they're willing to not necessarily confront and be like, well, it can't be that. Because it's not like he's molesting them in front of them,
and it's not like a small tomorrow thing either.
Right. It's over a long period of time, and it's maybe small gestures that maybe make you feel uncomfortable, and people feel like, well, I don't want to make a big deal, because if I'm wrong, I'm accusing an innocent person of this thing.
That's a big deal to accuse somebody of sexual assault, much less to a minor.
Right.
You know what I mean? You already know, even as a woman today, if I go and say sexual assault, I better know there's going to be a fight on my hands.
Yeah.
And that's just it. Like, you have to be prepared for the fight. And some people are just not prepared for the fight. And I think nowadays, like I said, I think there's just more of an eye on it and less likely for it to happen, or more it's spoken up about. I think at that time, I think that's why this documentary is even being made today. You know what I mean? Because there's more ability to speak up and say, this was wrong. This can't keep happening.
Yeah, I hope this is an opening. Like I said, this is, when we discussed earlier, this is not something that is unique to this particular industry. Anything where there's children involved, predators go where there is opportunity. So anywhere, so whether it's at school, at church, whatever extracurricular activity you have your child in, or even in your own home, predators go where there's opportunity. And so they're going to ingratiate themselves in situations where they will have contact with children. So 100%.
See, these are the times where I'm like, I know y'all don't believe in capital punishment, but I'm like, but no.
I mean, I would believe in capital punishment if we had a perfect justice system. So that would be...
No. But I'm like, why do you even need to be here? You molest children. I don't know.
The truth of it is, at the end of the day, Brian Peck took a plea agreement.
16 months probation.
And had 41 adults.
For sodomizing a child.
Yeah. And 41 adults, people in the industry, stepped up and wrote letters of recommendation for him. When Drake went into court to do his victim impact statement, his side was completely empty except for his parents, and Brian was completely full. And he looked at those people and said, you'll
forever have the memory of defending this man against what he did to me. And he said, the memory I will have is the memories of what this man did to me.
So I think at the end of the day,
that's disgusting.
It's very disgusting. At the end of the day, I feel like we as adults, we have to be more vigilant, and
You have to do better.
we have to do better.
And Drake said that he woke up to the assault too.
Oh my
Mind you,
God.
he woke up to being
So
sexually assaulted.
Lord knows what was happening before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's a sad time to have this being said. But again, I think nowadays we're a little bit more woke. Hopefully more children are protected. More women, more people are protected. So, but yeah, that's what we have today.
Yeah.
It was a heavy topic, but we're going to...
Yeah, we're going to go
Wrap
ahead and
up.
get out of here and probably discuss it offline. But
Thanks for listening.
thanks for listening. See you all next week. Bye.
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 And that's a wrap on the latest episode of Let Me Finish. Thank you guys for joining us for another week and listening to the latest episode. Don't forget, go like, share, and subscribe on your favorite platforms. And you guys can also follow us and see us on different platforms. I am on Instagram, and that's going to be Uniquely Janice. And then I'll also be on TikTok, Janice H, GENICEH. Michael, where can they find you?
I'm only on Instagram, and it's Kasra Salimi. And by Kasra Salimi, I mean Kasra Writes, because I changed it and I just forgot. So it's KASRA Writes, WRITES.
Yes. Jillian, where can we find you?
Instagram as well, and it's New Jillian Who Dis.
New Jillian Who Dis. All right. Well, we will talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.